All right, let's get started. It's so great to have you here, Sarah, and thank you so much for joining us today to uh, tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Of course. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, first of all, what kind of support or guidance did you find most valuable when you were building your business, and how did it help you bring your vision to life?
Yeah, this is a really great question. When you are a budding entrepreneur, whether it is bricks and mortar or online, there is so much that you don't know that you don't know. And it is a true learning curve. And it's not like anything you would have experienced before. There's not a lot of context for going out on your own in business. And so for me, it always came through mentorship, coaches, and community. There was not a lot of people in my world personally, family, friends who were doing, in fact, there was nobody that was doing what I was doing. And so meeting people in the same space or similar space, entrepreneurial space, who were at the same stage, and some of them that were a little bit ahead of me, is really what helped me like stay in the game. It's so easy to want to like throw up your hands and give up because there's so many things that you're faced with, so many challenges and choices and decisions. And when it's all brand new, and especially if you're coming from the corporate environment into solopreneurship, there are some things that are transferable, but mostly you are starting from scratch. And so for me, it was finding coaches that I aligned with, mentors that I aligned with, getting the support that way, learning about all the things that I needed to do to create an online business. So my business is online, virtual. And so learning how to really speak to an audience, how to structure, set up systems and structure, and then having that support. So being in community. So that was probably one of the um, unknowingly things that I did that worked out really well for me was getting into rooms. And in this case, it was virtual rooms. And meeting other people. And it turns out some of them lived not far from me, and some of them were in the US or on the East Coast or the West Coast here in Canada. So it was getting into those rooms and meeting other people who were experiencing the same thing, where you could share what was happening for you, where you might be having troubles, getting insight and feedback. Those were really the most invaluable things that helped me keep my head in the game and be able to keep the momentum building and keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's amazing. I do really find that the people you surround yourself with and the community you surround yourself with, you become a
Yeah.
sum of those people. So
Yes.
yeah, making sure you surround yourself with people like-minded who also want to succeed in the entrepreneurship scope is a great tip for everybody. So thank you for that answer.
It really is everything, Aiden. And, you know, that's not just a fancy quote that people throw around. When you are surrounding yourself with individuals who are either at the same place or ahead of where you are, you do want to be mindful of that. You want to surround yourself with, I think the quote is, you are the sum of the five people that you surround yourself with. And so, it is absolutely true. You want to lock down the type of people you're hanging out, the places you're hanging out. One of the things that was probably most surprising to me about this journey was how disciplined you needed to be. There were a lot of, I had a lot of discipline because of the type of background that I had come from. I came from financial services. And so, you know, it was a pretty um, mentally taxing type of work that I did, and it required a high level of organization. But doing entrepreneurship, having your own business, requires an even higher level of discipline that you wouldn't understand. And if you're with friends who knew you from before and they have a 9 to 5 and they have the luxury of coming and going, they don't understand when you're saying, not today, I've got some things that I need to look after in order to keep my business growing and moving forward. So that is absolutely a really fundamental and foundational piece of being in those communities and rooms where people can support you because they're also experiencing the same thing or have experienced the same thing and have the wisdom and guidance to share with you. So yeah, you want to be mindful of who you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, that kind of leads into our next question too, which is what were some of the most important skills or perspectives you developed during your entrepreneurial journey that you might not have had when you started?
Yeah. So as I was saying, I had shifted from a corporate environment to entrepreneurship. And they're like starting from ground zero, knowing nothing about entrepreneurship. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. What I didn't know about were all the steps I needed to take to get there. I just, in my mind, it was like I was going to go from A to Z, and that's just the way it was, and everything was going to work out. And in some ways, it's really good to have that. I call it now, in hindsight, I call it blind ambition. Like literally, you're putting your blinders on and you're just moving forward. And it's a little bit of um, I'm not sure what the word is, but like a good thing to have that. But it's also something that can trip you up if you don't like kind of take a step back and make sure you've got some foundational pieces in place. And sometimes when you're starting out on an entrepreneurial journey, you don't know what you don't know. And so you do move ahead and then you kind of have to move back and put some of those puzzle pieces in place so that you can continue to scale and grow. But I would say some of the most important skills were getting in those rooms, getting in the networking groups, meeting people, having conversations, talking about what I was doing. Learning about sales was also a really, really big piece. That was something that I had no exposure to in my corporate career. I was very much what they would call back office. So learning how to put packages together and make offers so that you're able to, sell your services or product was probably one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle. And learning to trust myself. Although I have had mentors all through this journey, because I knew this was bigger than me and that it was going to require some expertise. So I have always had a mentor up until this year. It's learning to trust what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and listening to that versus like all the outside opinions. You have to really start living a little bit internally so that you can know the direction that you're going in and then just keep the momentum going so you move in that direction. Because a lot of times everyone's going to have an opinion about how you should be doing your business, but you have to get really crystal clear on what that vision is and what that vision is not. Because when there's murkiness or uncertainty, you're a little bit more easily swayed by what other people are saying. So I would say like that self-direction, dedication, discipline, and really, trusting my gut, trusting my inner wisdom, and continuing to follow that. Those were the biggest things that were somewhat there, but not like really fully developed because they didn't need to be when I was in corporate.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think entrepreneurship is like the greatest journey you could go on to like learn so much about yourself and really like going into all the different fields, because when you're in corporate, you're kind of just in that one area. But then
Yeah.
running your own business, you really have to like, okay, marketing, sales, finance, like all of it. So
Yeah. You just touched on a really great point, Naomi. Entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development journey you will ever take. It is bigger than any program I've ever taken personally, any personal development or personal growth or expansion program I've ever taken. This, having my own business, creating it, running it, growing it is, the ultimate growth journey that you'll experience. It makes you look at every aspect of your life. And until you have challenged yourself and cleaned up some old beliefs and thought patterns and habits that maybe aren't serving you, your business will only expand to the amount that you've expanded and grown personally, mentally, emotionally. So yeah, that you're right. That is a very key part of this.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And also just the fact that, you know, those massive challenges are the whole reason why entrepreneurship is so rewarding, is because you have to go through those things to reap the benefits at the end. And it just feels that much better once you do, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Learning to be self-congratulatory. And I don't say that from an ego perspective. When I say that, I mean like you really have to celebrate your wins, because there is always going to be a new challenge right around the corner. And it's learning to get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of the ebbs and flows of what entrepreneurship is. And so celebrating yourself, really being self-led and self-directed and your own cheerleader, because not everybody's going to understand what you're doing. And when you don't have that support, and even when you do, as I was saying, you may have a community of entrepreneurs, a cohort, a networking group that is supporting, but they're not there with you 24/7. And so you've really got to be able to go deep with yourself and continue to cheer yourself on and hold that vision and be the lighthouse for yourself to be able to continue to move forward and take those big leaps and move through the things that will come up for you, the emotional challenges and the mental challenges that you're not even expecting. Like it that's probably one of the most profound things, and I think that touches on what you were just sharing a little bit, Aiden, is that the rewards that you receive from really digging in and holding the vision is like nothing you'll experience in any other capacity in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that subject of, facing big challenges or roadblocks, when you did come to those challenges or roadblocks in your business along the way, were there any mentorship or resources you accessed that really made a difference to push you past those?
Those challenges.
Yeah,
Yes. For me, it was when I was about 2 years in, and I was really struggling with prices. So I'm a service-based business, consumer-based. And when I started my business, there was some beliefs I had about myself and about my services that didn't serve me. But you don't know that at the time. You create your budget, but learning to ask for what your services are worth is one of the biggest challenges. And so, like many entrepreneurs starting out in a service-based business, I was undercharging for the services that I was offering. And so I was undervaluing my work. And it was through my mentors that I was able to elevate my mindset to be able to really see the value in the programs that I was offering clients and the transformations that they were getting from the work that we did together, from the mentorship that I was providing. And so that shift in perspective changed everything. I was able to move from kind of apologizing for my pricing into like being really confident about what these programs do for the individual, what the transformation is. And so those are like, I know that's from all the conversations I've had over the last 5 years, that is like the number one thing that most entrepreneurs will encounter. And I was no different. It was really coming to terms with knowing my worth and knowing the value of the service that I was offering. And that is only done through that personal growth work. And that is best done when you're working with a mentor. So it was my mentors, it was programs like Seed and leveling it up that really helped me in terms of resources, being able to be in those programs with other entrepreneurs and having the coaches that I did through leveling it up is one of the big resources that helped me to be able to, as they say, like step into my self-leadership or into my leadership, into my self-worth and valuing the products and services that I provide. So in terms of other resources, again, finding like-minded individuals. So having a couple of key people that I could turn to and building those relationships as well. The other key resource is that networking piece, sharing with others what it is that you're doing so that they can talk about it too. So those were really like the two biggest resources, leveling it up, and my other mentors that I had. And then, well, I guess that's three. And then really getting that network built out so that others were sharing about my work. And I was likewise sharing it with others so that they would know what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, I think networking is like such an underrated skill that they don't teach you in school, but like I think it's honestly one of the most important things like in life and in business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I didn't realize the value of networking, Naomi. You're absolutely right. Interestingly enough, towards the end of my corporate career, I had actually started joining women in business network groups. And that was a stretch for me at the time. It was like getting out from the office, getting out from behind my desk. So I had started the process a few years before I opened the doors to my business. But really understanding how foundational it is to get out and meet people. And in the early days, I was primarily on Zoom online because it was during the global pandemic. So there weren't a lot of opportunities to meet in person. So it actually, for me, started in Zoom rooms. And then when we were able to meet in person again, I had to really like shift how I was showing up in a room and which rooms I was choosing to show up in as well. There was a period of time there where I was saying yes to everything and yes to everybody, to coffee chats and whatever event was happening. But then you quickly realize that you don't need to be in every room. You need to be in the right room for your product, your service, and paying attention to the people that are in the room, because as we were talking about at the top of this conversation, the people that you surround yourself with absolutely matter. So there's been a refinement process to that networking piece and vital to your business. And it is something you have to learn to do, even as an introvert. So I am ambidextrous. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I can be introverted, but for small amounts of time, and then I have to go and regroup and recharge. So even as an introvert, learning how to network for you is also a vital tool to be able to build for yourself, because conversations and sales are the lifeline of your business. So you have to find a way to be able to do that, to connect with others so that you are in conversation. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people at one time. It can be smaller groups. It can be coffee chats. It can be individual one-on-one conversations. But as long as you're finding a way to have those conversations so that the momentum can build and you can continue to be seen.
Yeah, that's great. And so you've had such a big shift from decades, you said, in the financial services to becoming, sorry if I pronounced this wrong, a Reiki master, is that right?
Yeah, Reiki. Yes, correct. Yes.
Teacher coach. So what
Yeah.
was the moment that you knew you were on the right path and that this was your calling?
Yeah. And I've had a few of those in the early days. It was the main part was during, I call it my breakdown for my breakthrough in 2020. And it was kind of like cumulative breakdowns, overwhelm and burnout, and being disconnected from who I was. And I had been receiving Reiki myself. It is an energy healing modality. It's an alternative healing modality. It supports your emotional health and your physical wellness also. And it also helps release any trauma you may have experienced, any grief, any anxiousness, and like I said, that overwhelm. So that receiving of Reiki that I was going through, which literally saved my life, just had like such a profound impact on me that I now know it was preparing me to serve other women who had experienced what I did as well. And so initially, my business was going to be a Reiki practice, as they call it. I was just going to do individual Reiki sessions. And I had been working with a particular client on what they call distance Reiki. So you can do Reiki over Zoom or remotely. You don't require technology, and you don't have to be in the same place. So, like physically in the same place. So I had been working with a client through Reiki, and then there was this turning point in our conversations where it became obvious that it was more than Reiki that was happening. And so that's actually when I created my first mentorship program. I put a program together for her specifically, and we ended up working together for almost a year. And it was through her transformation that I knew that I was exactly where I was meant to be. And everything that I had experienced through the 20 years of corporate, through the unhealthy relationships that I had experienced, the romantic relationships, and through the healing of my personal life experience, the trauma, the drama, the heartache, and the grief. I knew all of that after working with this one client had been school for me, had been like the place that I was learning and training to be able to work with other women. So really it was that first client that when her transformation came through from the work that we did together, there was no turning back. It was like, this is it. This is where I'm meant to be. And yeah, there's been no turning back ever since.
Yeah, I think the like most inspiring thing is seeing how your work can impact someone else so positively. Like
Yeah.
I think that's just like the most motivating thing. So
Yeah, it truly is. As I say to my colleagues, it never gets old. Watching someone go from, I have like benchmarks that I use from 1 to 10. So most of my clients will come in, they're at a round of 2 out of 10 emotionally and mentally, and sometimes physically. And after our time together, they're anywhere between an 8 and 9 out of 10 mentally, emotionally, and physically. So that never gets old. Being able to walk with somebody on that journey, supporting them on that growth and changing habits and mindsets and watching it filter into every aspect of their lives, like mind, body, and soul, watching that total transformation, witnessing it and being the facilitator of it is something that I'll be doing from now until I'm not able to anymore.
Yeah, it's such a cool story and really inspiring to hear because I feel like as an entrepreneur, first of all, you want to do something you love and make money, right? But if you can
Yeah,
also have a positive impact on the people who are your clients as well, I mean, that's the best
yeah,
case scenario. So it's amazing to hear a
yeah.
success story like that.
Yeah, thank you, Aiden. And you're right. It really is so rewarding to know that you are contributing to society so positively. And also its legacy, right? Like you're leaving a legacy, knowing that these women that I work with have changed every aspect of their lives, and it changes in their families as well. It's they're changing for their children and their grandchildren that they don't have yet. It's like it's this ripple effect, and like I said, it filtrates into every area of their lives. So yeah, that's like there's nothing like it to experience when you're facilitating that and knowing that it's for the greater good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for our next question, I was wondering
Mm,
for someone on a similar entrepreneurial path, starting out, if you
mm.
could narrow it down to three big tips that you would give them when they're starting out, what would it be?
Okay, I've got two for sure. I'll see if I can come up with a third one. But the first one, I've talked about it a little bit already. Invest in your own inner work. Your business will only grow to the capacity that you've grown. And so, finding mentors, finding coaches, working on the physical body is equally as important. You have to maintain your health. Especially as an entrepreneur, there's no one to back you up typically. And so you need to look after your mind, body, and soul. And so investing in that inner work, doing the emotional excavation, doing that inner work to be able to heal the wounds or the trauma that you might have experienced. Everybody's experienced something at some point in their lives on their life journey. And so really, any work that needs to be done around that, taking the time to do that, because the more you step into your wholeness, the more you step into your health and positive mindset and what they call a growth mindset, the more capacity you have to hold for others, as well as you get to then teach what it is that you've learned. So the first is definitely invest in your own inner work. And then secondly, I did share this as well, do not undervalue your gifts. That actually is directly related to number one. You, as I shared, I didn't have the ability emotionally and mentally to value my services for what they were worth. I was not emotionally there yet. And so when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, it's really important to clean, as I call it, clean up that thinking, um, moving yourself into that place of really knowing your self worth and what it is that you bring to the table and how valuable it is. because when you're not valuing your gifts at the appropriate level, it makes everything so much harder. When you are valuing your gifts, you have like capacity because you're looking after yourself, you're looking after your needs are being met, you know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like food and shelter and you know, physical well-being. Those are all things that you absolutely need to meet your own needs on. And in order to do that, you have to be able to have the appropriate income coming in to look after yourself. Because when you're looking after yourself, you are creating that capacity to serve from overflow rather than depletion. And that's a really, really big, important lesson, is that you have to fill up your cup first, because when you're serving from depletion, typically you're serving from what they call a lack mentality. So you're either in suffering, you're in overwhelm, you're in burnout, or you're in some sort of lower vibrational or lack mentality, which doesn't allow you to appreciate what you do have and what you are doing. And so everything just kind of spirals down from there. When you're serving from overflow, when you're looking after yourself first, then you're spiraling up. You're able to have that gratitude, have appreciation for what is already coming in and what more will be just around the corner. And again, that ties into that inner work. So valuing your gifts and doing your inner work. And then I guess the third piece would be, as we've talked about today, building those authentic relationships. So for me, one of the things that I did is really focusing on having those meaningful conversations. So like I said, I was at one point saying yes to all the coffee chats and all the Zoom rooms. And eventually that got refined, and I began to understand it was more beneficial and productive to have several meaningful conversations every week versus like 100 random conversations. So those are the three tips. Invest in your own work first. Second, don't undervalue your gifts. And third is building those authentic relationships.
No, yeah, that's great advice. I love all of those.
Thank you.
And
yeah. And I would also say that leveling it up created that third piece for me, that building those authentic relationships. I would say I really honed that through leveling it up, and also all the wonderful mentors and coaches and entrepreneurs that I met through leveling it up too.
Yeah, leveling it up is such a great community of women there. So
yes, agreed.
And finally, is there anything new or exciting coming up for you in your business that you want people to know about?
Yes, so much. This is really a big growth year, 2025, and it will continue on to 2026. I'm still in building phase of my business. So there's some partnership opportunities that are coming up that I'm super excited about. I'm starting to make, because of all those relationships that I've cultivated over the last 4 years, I'm starting to create partnership work. So there will be, I can't really say too much more at this point, but that sort of is brewing in the background. And that's going to probably come to fruition later in the year. Starting last year and moving into this year, speaking at women's summits and into corporate, actually going into corporate organizations. So there's a talk that I'm giving in September for a corporate organization that I'm super excited about. So being able to go into corporate and sharing all the things that occurred for me as a corporate employee and now as an entrepreneur, like how to, incorporate mindfulness practices and really manage that stress and how to navigate burnout or actually prevent it. So that's coming up. And then I've created what's known as a boundary architect masterclass. So I just did the first one July, the end of July. So that's going to be an ongoing, it's a free live 90-minute workshop that I'm going to run every couple of months. And yeah, I think that's like probably the biggest things that are happening right now.
That's amazing. It's good to hear that you're constantly improving and constantly bringing out new products. That's very, very cool to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting times.
We'll definitely be excited to see all the stuff in the upcoming months. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Aiden.
Yeah. And with that, that concludes our interview. So I just wanted to say thank you again for joining us today. It was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better and speak with you this afternoon. And to our viewers, thanks a lot for listening. And I hope you got as much value out of this conversation as I did.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And it's a pleasure having met both of you and spending time with you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.